So I just had a quick question for you, Congressman Cawthorn. A majority of Republicans believe that President Biden was not lawfully elected. Now, you know that he was, and that he won the 2020 election. So when will you stop lying to your constituents, admit that Donald Trump lost, and end this senseless attack on our democracy?
Well, number one, I completely wholeheartedly disagree with you. I believe the election.
On the facts, you disagree with me?
On what was that?
On the facts that President Biden was lawfully elected?
Absolutely. Well, let me go into it right quick. There is an unconstitutional election.
Love to hear you propagate the big lies.
Would you like me to explain?
Absolutely. Go ahead.
Okay, so as you can all see in Article 2, Section 3 of the Constitution, the only people who have a right to change election law in the United States of America are the state legislatures. You saw in 6 key states, namely Wisconsin and Arizona, as the worst perpetrators. The state, the state governors and the Board of Elections there, who actually went around the will of the state legislature and change election laws on their own. That is unconstitutional. When you have voter drop boxes that are set up in parks, when you can get rid of signature verification and voter identification laws, that is against the law. It's an unconstitutional thing. Are you against the Constitution?
Are you against when you incited the January 6th insurrection? Were you against the Constitution?
I answered your question. You didn't answer.
When you incited the January 6th insurrection, were you against the Constitution?
Adam, please sit down.
Or were you for it?
Okay, first of all, let's just remember who we're talking about here. When Madison Cawthorn isn't filming himself punching trees, you might remember him as the guy who insists on making US history references, only getting those references completely wrong. Like when he said that James Madison signed the Declaration of Independence. He never did. Or when he said that Congress voted to decide the Emancipation Proclamation. This was also wrong considering it was a presidential proclamation in 1863 by Lincoln. Or this one.
It was Thomas Jefferson that said, "Facts are stubborn things, and whatever may be our wishes or the dictates of our passions, they cannot alter the state of facts and evidence."
Only Thomas Jefferson didn't say that, John Adams did. But hey, facts are stubborn things. All of that's to say, maybe we temper our expectations for the truth bombs that Madison Cawthorn drops on us. Like in this very video. For example, he claims that Article 2, Section 3 of the Constitution states that only Congress can change the election laws of the United States of America. Only, minor issue here, Article 2, Section 3 gives the President the authority to give a State of the Union address, along with convening or adjourning both houses of Congress and receiving ambassadors. I mean, dear God, he is bad at this. Now, what he was trying to allude to is the process for each state legislature to choose their selection of president and vice president. Cawthorn is repeating the same tired, debunked conspiracy theory that we've heard umpteen times by Republicans who are desperate to manipulate their supporters into thinking that the process by which Joe Biden was elected president was unconstitutional. They claim that the states didn't follow their own laws governing their elections, and so for that reason, the Constitution was violated and Joe Biden's election's in question. What Cawthorn doesn't tell you, while fear-mongering about how the rule of law was supposedly suspended in states across the country with no recourse whatsoever, is that this exact issue was already litigated in the courts. So just for fun, let's quickly go through every single post-election case that dealt with the issue of states being accused of violating the Constitution along with their rulings. In Pennsylvania, in the case Donald J. Trump for President Inc. versus Book Bar, the Trump team contended that some absentee and mail-in ballots were accepted and counted in violation of state law and that they should be stricken from the court. The exact issue that Cawthorn was raising. A district court dismissed the lawsuit. The Trump campaign then appealed the decision to the Third Circuit Court of Appeals, where a 3-judge panel affirmed the lower court's decision on November 27, 2020. The court said, quote, "The campaign tries to repackage these state law claims as unconstitutional discrimination, yet its allegations are vague and conclusory." It then went on, "The campaign's claims have no merit. The number of ballots it specifically challenges is far smaller than the roughly 81,000 vote margin of victory, and it never claims fraud or that any votes were cast by illegal voters. Plus, tossing out millions of mail-in ballots would be drastic and unprecedented, disenfranchising a huge swath of the electorate and upsetting all down-ballot races too. That remedy would be grossly disproportionate to the procedural challenges raised, so we deny the motion for an injunction pending appeal." In other words, not only was the claim that Pennsylvania violated the Constitution wrong, but even if it was upheld, still the number of ballots affected didn't overcome Biden's margin of victory, so the question's ultimately moot. Also in Pennsylvania, in the case Kelly versus Pennsylvania, Trump allies sued, arguing that Pennsylvania law allowing for no-excuse mail voting violates the state constitution. The Pennsylvania Supreme Court dismissed the case with prejudice, allowing certification of election results to proceed. The Trump team appealed this case to the U.S. Supreme Court, which declined to even take up the case on December 8, 2020. A Supreme Court, mind you, of which Donald Trump himself appointed a third of the bench. In Wisconsin, in the case Trump versus Wisconsin Elections Commission, Trump argued that the state and local officials violated state laws in the course of administering the 2020 election, usurping the authority of the state legislature. Also exactly what Madison Cawthorn was arguing. A district judge dismissed the complaint with prejudice and denied the motion for a preliminary injunction. Trump appealed to the 7th Circuit Court of Appeals, which affirmed the district court's decision. Trump then appealed to the Supreme Court of the United States, which declined to even take up the case on December 24, 2020. Again, the same Supreme Court stacked with a third of Trump judges. In Georgia, in the case Trump versus Kemp, the Trump team sued, claiming that Georgia election officials failed to conduct the presidential election in accordance with state law. The court dismissed that lawsuit on January 5, 2021. In New Mexico, in the case Trump versus Oliver, the Trump campaign sued, claiming that New Mexico Secretary of State Maggie Toulouse Oliver violated the Constitution by taking non-legislative action to authorize secure ballot drop-off locations. In that case, the Trump campaign itself voluntarily dismissed its own lawsuit on January 11, 2021. In Texas, in the case Texas versus Pennsylvania, Trump allies argued that the presidential elections in Pennsylvania, Georgia, Michigan, and Wisconsin were subject to, quote, significant and unconstitutional irregularities, and that the results in these states should be nullified. The Supreme Court refused to hear the case. That is, every single case where this very question of the states violating their constitutions came up, and in every single case, the Trump team lost. So when Madison Cawthorn pretends that this is some unresolved issue, just know that he's either too dumb to know that it was already litigated or too shameless to care. But either way, it doesn't exactly reflect too well on him. So Madison Cawthorn and the rest of Trump's acolytes will continue to perpetuate this bullshit talking point, but just know that it doesn't hold an ounce of water. Then again, as Thomas Jefferson didn't say, facts are stubborn things. To see more videos like this, click the subscribe button right here on this screen. And if you want to support my work, subscribe to my podcast, No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen. I cover the most important stories each week, and my guest is always one of the top political figures, including Vice President Kamala Harris, Jen Psaki, Elizabeth Warren, Pete Buttigieg, Nancy Pelosi, Katie Porter, Cory Booker, and so many more. The podcast link is also right here on this screen, so give it a listen and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts.